What's going on, guys? Cody from Motorcycle MD, bringing you guys a video on something that's super simple that I see all the time that you're probably dealing with now or you're going to deal with it later. And that is the turn signal switch on Hondas that tends to get sticky, hard to push in. It even causes some funky lighting situations where either you'll turn the left turn signal on, it'll stay lit, or it won't light up at all. We're gonna fix that today with 2 easy steps. One may help you as of now, a temporary fix. The second is going to be a surefire way to make that switch work just like it did when it came out of the factory. Again, remember to subscribe to the channel. While you're here, hit that like button. I appreciate all you guys' encouragement, as well as I have a free giveaway for all subscribers. If you subscribe to my email list at motorcyclemd.com, you'll get a troubleshooting cheat sheet, exactly what you need to have in your toolbox whenever you're going after a bike that has some kind of problem. All right, let's do it. All right, guys, VT 750 classic Honda. They're a dime a dozen. So the turn signal switches, especially on these, on any Honda that is out in the weather all the time. There's grease in here, and as the grease gets worn out, and dust as you're riding, dust, debris kind of gets sucked up into here. All kinds of stuff can affect the switch and cause it to function like junk. This one's not too bad, but I don't like it. It's got some resistance to the left, resistance to the right, and it's kind of difficult to push in. And I know that if I don't address it, or if you don't address yours, you're going to start having problems. So this video is sponsored by my buddy Paul over at Go Fast Innovations. He gave me these screwdrivers they're called JIS screwdrivers, Japanese Industrial Standard. And I gotta tell you, I've been using them for about 2 months. I told him, hey man, I'm gonna put them to work, so I hope it's good quality. And I love these. These are now my everyday useful tool. A lot of times on standard Phillips head screwdrivers that you buy from Sears, Craftsman, any generic Phillips head screwdriver, and you're trying to use it on the screws on the Japanese or metric style bike, you can strip them out very easily. And it's called cam out. When the Phillips head is used on the screw, it doesn't make a very good contact deep down inside the screw. That's the best way to describe it to you guys. Again, Paul, thank you so much for these, man. They're awesome. He gave me 3 of them to try out, and I absolutely love them. The only thing I don't like about them is the printing came off. He put JIS on here, Go Fast Innovations on the side, but the one I use every day, it's gone. If you clean this thing one time, it's gone. So Paul, if you're watching this, engrave it, man. Put some JIS engraving, some kind of cool engraved logo on it, maybe even give it some more grip with that engravement, and so I can show these things off to more people. So we'll start first by just removing this switch assembly, all right? Sometimes the grip's really close to it and the brake control with the mirror are all just too close to it to try to separate these. There's 2 screws, one on the bottom on both sides, okay? You want to start by loosening up the front one, okay? Just a quick tip, you may not know this, but every clamping device on your handlebar, all of these, the handlebar holds right here, these lever holds, they all clamp down or forward. They are designed specifically for that. That's why there's dots on here, because one side of the clamp is always longer than the other. And whenever you're clamping around the bar, Honda wants you to tighten the back bolt first and then tighten the front bolt so it's clamping down on top. Okay, that's crucial. If you're going to change your bars out, I know that this is kind of off topic, but just be super careful about that, guys, because there's a reason why they say up around here, and they have the dots here, as well as they also, you may not know this, but they have dots on the handlebar itself, right there. That dot is for dealers to line these things up to a factory setting. So if we were to move this, and you're like, I don't know where it was before, I don't feel like messing with that, it's super simple. There's a dot literally right there that allows you to line up, it's supposed to line up exactly with the crease. So you can put them right back to where they were. And if you don't like them right there, you can move them. It's not gonna hurt the bike, I promise. Okay, so with the switch, we're going to start by loosening the front clamp first, the front bolt first, screw actually. And this will help us access the internals of this switch. Thanks, train. You're always here in perfect timing. For a quick temporary fix, it's just using some quick spray. I use silicone spray. I don't like using heavy like WD-40s or rust penetrants because it can really gunk things up. I've used them on mine before and it worked great for a day or two, a week, whatever, but then it got worse. And that's what I did not like. That's what forced me to go inside of mine and take care of it the right way. Silicone spray works really great. It doesn't leave a lot of junk behind like a lot of the rust penetrants do. But you can spray just directly inside of the switch, right behind it, function it back and forth, and you'll be surprised at how much that helps. But we're going to grease this bad boy and get it right. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just move this bracket over. I'm just going to bring it over out of the way a little bit. I might need to do more, but we'll see. Let's go to this back screw back here. There's usually always two, one short and one long. They are different sizes, lengths, so be sure you pay attention. Here's a short one as compared to this top one, or this front one that we took apart. Big difference. We can go ahead and split this now. If you have a choke cable, usually it's attached to some kind of a anchor point, which should separate from the housing itself. So here we are. All right, here's the switch right here. So I'm gonna use a number 1 Phillips on here. First, I'm gonna start by removing this bracket here. All this is doing is holding down the wire loom behind it. Okay, so we can clear the handlebar. Now keep in mind that this is on top of this, so just pay attention to the orientation of how you see things. And all these little metal things right here, underneath their contacts. All right, so it's important just to kind of visually see what you're doing, maybe take a picture with your phone, and then take it apart and have fun. All right, so let's take this screw apart here. Come on, baby. All right, so there's one screw. One precaution you might want to take is to just drape something over the tank in case if this isn't loomed up top here, you drop it, hit your tank. That wouldn't be cool, but this one is loomed up top, so loomed as in being held on by a plastic retainer. Here's that bracket right here. Again, all it's doing is just holding this wire harness down. Let's see, let's take this one out. You don't want to strip these out. If you do, well, you weren't careful. So I'm going to pull this out. Okay. Here's the kind of rotating sleeve that this sits on, so this can move back and forth as well as turn left to right. And it's just, there's a lot of grease and it's starting to stiffen a little bit. You see this harness is connected in. There's a screw right behind this horn button. If you unscrewed that, you could pull this whole loom out. This whole harness would come out just like this. Okay, and pull all of that out, or you can just work with it just how it is here. So there's right turn signal. There's cancel. And there's left turn signal. Okay, so that's all encased in grease all inside, and you have this pad right here with tons of wires going to it. You got all your turn signal wires, your cancellation wires, your power wires for running lights, everything. And that can pop out. So if you see here, you got a little black clip that's attached to that, as well as on this side. Now this is where you want to be careful, okay? I'm going to put something over this tank. It's sketching me out. Reason why, this bike was in a wreck and I just replaced this tank, and it's a very expensive tank. I would be so pissed if I did drop something on it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, these little arms, they kind of flex. Alright, so while they're flexing, I'm going to pull it back with one finger and just kind of get right underneath here and try to pry it up. Don't damage it, don't break it, just be really careful with it. Don't stab yourself. Everything you do is at your own risk. It's the fine print. There we go, got one side out, looks like that. It's awesome. Alright, so there's the switch itself. Pay attention to how it looks. There's little springs I'll show you and everything. Here's the contact pad for everything. Alright, pay attention to the orientation of how it went in, all of that stuff. Okay, so that's all up to you. So all this grease, like I said, it's getting kind of solidified. Now these contact pads here are behind springs as well. See that? Spring loaded. And that's spring loaded too, but it's starting to stick, man. It's got black junk right behind there. And there's a ball right there that's spring loaded as well. So we're going to clean all of this stuff up. Let's go over to the workstation, the Motorcycle MD workstation. Alrighty, the exclusive MD workstation built on top of paper towels. So I'm going to use a waterproof grease. You can get it for outdoor motors, something like that. This stuff works amazing to keep salt water and that kind of stuff out, and keep things fresh. And it's an awesome blue color. Duh. First, what I'm going to do is get this bowl out. Alright, I just kind of went down into something with it, not up towards my face. Grab this spring. Alright, pull that out. Then we can clean this plastic piece up. I know you guys like the design on my paper towel. You don't have to like hide your feelings towards it. Really makes the whole video stand out, to be honest. That's why I chose it. That's pretty good for me. I'm going to clean this ball up. This little ball bearing. Don't lose it. Keep an eye on it the entire time. Spring's not too bad. You can clean that up if you need to. Okay. So, here's the actual switch itself. We're going to clean this up by simply taking out these little switches. There's the top one, has a little spring behind it. Here's the bottom one. So, clean this thing up, man. Or woman. Pay attention to your springs, ball bearing, you stay. Keep cleaning this thing out, get all that old grease out. I'm going to leave that ball bearing inside, the one that you probably see on yours. They may not all look like this, but they can pretty much all come apart, I'm telling you. The only ones that are a little bit sketchy to mess with are the GL 1800 ones, because they have 5 other switches that are involved. Alright, ball bearing still there? Awesome. Spring still there? Good. Let's go ahead and clean these contacts up. And it's things like these that you don't really pay attention to on motorcycles. A lot of people don't. Like, someone will bring a bike in for state inspection, and the second I get on it, there's like 4 things that run through my head. 1, man, these tires are flat. 2, I bet the horn doesn't work. 3, how could he ride with his turn signal switch the way it is? Because they just don't, like, a lot of people just don't realize that you can get inside and do this kind of stuff. Or they'll pay someone to do some kind of lube or maintenance job. But those small little quirks that you work out make it so much more enjoyable to ride. My 2 little contacts are clean. Springs are still there. Ball bearing's still there. Alright, so I'm going to unscrew here. Okay, it should have a little Phillips head screw there. Again, I'm using a number 1 Phillips JIS exclusive. I'll be sure to put a link down below, Paul, for your awesome Phillips head screwdrivers. So clean this plate up. As you can tell, it has like a pitched thread here. The screw goes down. Okay, don't try to put it the other way. It's pretty obvious. Alright, let's go ahead and clean this toggle up. Man, this little screwdriver over here is trying to wreck my day. Springs are still there though. Alright, this paper towel needs to be retired. Alright, that feels really good, nice and clean. Let's go ahead and reassemble this portion. But, let's do our grease. Alright, so I'm going to put a little bit of my grease right down here. Okay, this will help this piece stay. I'm going to put a little bit more grease on top of the brass bushing. We can go ahead and install this. If you remember, this far screw here, that hole, was for the far right corner of the switch. So I know that this is supposed to be pointing out. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and install a little bit more grease right on top of the switch itself. Okay, grab my Phillips head and my washer. Okay, we'll cinch that down again when we get back in there. It's already feeling a lot easier, a lot freer, like a free spirit. Alright, this is when your hand's going to get a little bit greasy, but it's okay. So we're going to put some grease down inside of this white plastic holder. Okay, remember the 2 little springs that we haven't lost yet? Put one right there. Go ahead and install this. Now these have little tangs on them that are supposed to keep them held in. Go ahead and push that down there. It kind of clicked right in. If it doesn't seem to want to stay in, you can take the wings of it and kind of bend them out slightly, and that will help it stay in a little bit better. But this one's staying in just fine. Install my other spring. The cool part about this bottom switch, this little plate, if you look at this switch, one arm is fatter than the other, or is wider, would be more politically correct. And so it can only go in one way. Alright, so make sure your spring's still there. And there you go. They are installed. It's okay if they're kind of hanging out a little bit. Once you put the black plate on that we pried out, it's going to mesh with those fine. Okay, so they are functioning good. I'm going to keep the top layer of this pretty much clean. Okay, you don't want to lob that up with grease because those are the contact points. So we want to keep those relatively clean. It's already got a thin coating of grease from my fingers just for messing around with all this, so that's all it's going to need to keep it from corroding. Okay, so we can go ahead and put a little bit more grease down in this ramp where that spring and ball bearing sat in. Not a lot, just something to keep it moving. Okay, put the spring in, and you gotta kind of press that ball bearing back in there, and that should spring right nice. Alright, so next would be this piece here, okay, and it's got those 3 ramps down in there that ball bearing that we didn't take out kind of slides back and forth on. So obviously this needs to be greased and that needs to be greased. Don't overdo it, just put just enough to keep that coating there down inside that ramp. Alright, so now that that's all installed and it's going to hang out here for a second, we're going to go back over to the bike and clean that black part out. Really simple, paper towel, contact cleaner, clean the contacts on it, and we'll put it back together. Alright, just the residue grease on your fingers, you can just kind of run it right back over the contacts again. You don't want to fill this up with dielectric grease. Dielectric grease is not to help contact better. Okay, that's a myth. Dielectric grease is meant to waterproof connections going into it. In other words, if you have 2 connectors going into each other, dielectric grease is meant for the outer side of that connector itself, not meant to be put on top of connectors. But just a little bit of grease from my fingers is all I'll need just to get a nice little coating on there so it's not just bare metal. Alright, let's go ahead and reinstall this thing. We got our switch. I'm just going to try to do this very carefully. These 3 contacts go up top. Should do this very carefully. And just press that in. It's in. It's in. Alright, so now we're going to put a little bit more grease right on this little Y, okay, and then that will help for the toggle left to right. All right, so we're going to put this right back down inside of its home. Remember that this wire harness has to go down with it. It's kind of a tricky part, but it's just got to get it right back to where it was before. Just paying attention to how it was before, that was sitting down pretty much flat. I'm going to push this arm in, these 2 little tangs here. Make sure that your switch is in the middle position as if you had just pressed the button in, because these 2 little arms are what move it back and forth. And this little cutout here goes against that ball bearing with the spring we took out. So I'm just going to hold that down there. Alright, so you got to kind of push that ball bearing in slightly to move this whole plate over a little bit. Just like that. And very carefully install that screw again without getting it in the wrong pitch. You know, you want to make sure that you don't cross thread this. I'm just going to seat it. I'm not going to crank on it. We'll go ahead and install the hold. So that was like that. This kind of presses this whole harness down, and it should line up with that hole. Magnetic tip screwdrivers definitely help with this kind of thing. Make sure you're not pinching the harness. Make sure it's going to go down there nice and smooth. Alright, once it seats, I'm just going to give it a small little 1/8 of a turn. Just kind of snug it up. Nothing crazy. Same with this top one. Look at that. Let's go ahead and reinstall it. This sleeve goes inside of that groove. I'm pretty sure you guys can get the rest. One thing you got to realize that the switch housing has a little notch cut out here because there's a hole in the handlebar for it to line back up into. Rotate this around until you find that hole right there. Snapped right in. And again, remember what I said. Back screw first, we're going to clamp down over the handlebar. That is a beautifully functioning switch. Alright, hope you guys learned a lot from that quick lesson on maintaining your switches. Super simple, very practical, and it makes a world of difference. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit the like button below, subscribe to the channel. Be sure to grab this free giveaway before you leave. Head over to the website and subscribe to the email list. Once you're on an email list, you have a direct connection to me. Ask me a question if you have. I'll try to answer it the best way I can, as fast as I can. And you'll get content first when it comes out, and you also have access to full blogs and write-ups that I do for different topics. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and it helped you guys out. This is Cody from Motorcycle MD giving you guys quality tips and tricks for your next build or your daily rider. I'll see you guys next time.